guys, it's Manager Kylie, and today I'm going to go through some important terminology for volleyball and terms you may want to know if you're just getting into the sport or want to learn more about the sport. So I'm going to go through some important terminology for volleyball, some of the different terms you may hear a coach say, another player, or you might hear on if you're watching the game on TV. I'm going to go through kind of what the term means and some of the important ones that you should really focus on when you're just getting into the sport. But if you guys are interested in more sports administration content just like this, definitely subscribe button, turn the bell so you get notified every time I upload, as I post a new video every single Wednesday, 2 p.m. Eastern time. And we're gonna dive into these terms. So I split these terms up into a few different categories. We're gonna start with your terms that are relation to the court and the game. Then we're going to have some different players and positioning terms. And then we're going to finally have your in-game terms when the game's actually going on and kind of different contacts and things along that lines. So when starting off on the court, you're going to have your different boundary lines. So those are just your lines. Those are the different lines around the court. Specifically, you have your back line. You're also sometimes known as your service line. Then you're going to see a middle line that's 10 feet off of the net. That's called your attack line, also your 10-foot line. And then you also, that court does split up with a center line to split under the net from each side of the court. When you split that court up with that attack line, you have the front court, which is in front of that 10-foot line. And then you do have the back court, which is all the distance behind that 10-foot line. On the net itself, you do have two red antennas. These are the boundary lines that match up with the boundary lines on the floor, but they are in the air as antennas so that the boundaries of the court go up straight up into the air. And then the last part of the court that you might hear talked about is the tape. What this is actually the very top of the net, the white strip generally, or whatever color strip is along the very top of the net. That's called the tape. You might hear somebody's been blocked by the tape. That's that top of the net, very close to the top, generally where a lot of the ball is going over. For positioning terms, you have your different positions on the court, and I do have videos specifically on positioning. If you have more questions on that, I will have some of those linked up in the iCard in a volleyball playlist. But you do have your setter. They're the one generally taking your second contact. You have your middles, they hit out of the middle of the court, your outside hitters, your weak side or opposite hitters, as well as your libero as defensive specialists. So these are different positions that players may play on the court, and they all have different roles. And I have a video on those positions if you're interested in that. These players, the way they rotate around the court, there's a few different ways that this is done. This is done in a 5-1, a 4-2, or a 6-2, and I have specific videos showing those as well, but there are different ways that the players can rotate around the court. And then when it comes to actually playing volleyball, there's some important terms that you're going to want to know, especially if you're starting out. One is your ready position. What this is generally your knees and legs about shoulder width apart. You're getting ready, you're getting low, ready to hit the ball. Your hands are generally open, so you're able to move and get to whatever position you need to. An ace is when the service happens and the serve goes over the net and nobody on the other team touches the ball, so the server gets an ace. They get a point without anything else happening. An attack is also sometimes known as a spike, is when the hitter goes up or the attacker goes up to hit the ball and they're able to hit that down. If they do that without anybody touching it, or if it just goes off one player, that is considered a kill. And when an attacker goes up to hit that ball, the movement they're doing with their feet is called their approach. An attacker hitting the ball is coming off of a set, so that's generally that second content. When you hit it with above your hands, that is a set. And if that set happens to be a perfect set that they get it to that hitter and they're able to get a kill, that's considered an assist. So that person is assisting with the kill. You are able to also attack out of the back row. However, there's rules and regulations around this. A back row attack is actually something that's illegal. That's when one of the players that initially started in the back row jumps in front of the 10-foot line and jumps up over the height of the net to hit the ball. They are able to jump as long as they stay below the height of the net. So generally, that's what a back row attack is. It's both an illegal thing as you're a back row hitter that's hitting it from the back row, and it's actually also used sometimes with a down ball when you're hitting planted on the back row and you're hitting it down from the back line behind the 10-foot line versus jumping up for that big monster kill. When it comes to passing, when you have your two arms together, that's generally known as a bump or a bump pass. You have your hands above your head, that's a set. And then you have your hitting or your serving, generally your one-handed attacks. You do also have blocking, so that's when you're going up over the net and blocking above the net. Closing the block is a term you're also going to hear. What that means is when two players are blocking together, you want to have your bodies right next to each other with your hands, so there's no gap between you for the ball to be able to get through. So closing the block is putting your hands nice and close together with each other. When doing your bump passing, there's a few different things that you can be doing with that. If you're passing off of a really hard attack from the other team, that's generally called a dig. And if you're bump passing the ball over the net as your third ball just to keep it in play, that's generally called a free ball. A few other terms you're gonna hear, one is pancake. So what that is in volleyball, your goal is just to touch the ball and keep it up in the air. So a pancake is when you have your hand kind of flat on the ground and it's just your fingers underneath. You're getting that ball up just with your flat hand. You can't even fit a fist underneath. Getting that ball up so that it stays up. So that's generally called a pancake. You'll also hear a lot of times in cheers, people yell side out. And what this means is when you're in serve receive, which means the other team is serving to you, you want to complete the point. So if the other team is serving to you and you complete the point and you get the serve back, that means you sided out. Serve receive is when you're receiving the serve, so you're positioned ready to play the ball as the serve's coming to you. If you're in your serve position, that means somebody on your team is serving the ball. Serving the ball, you do have to get it over to either have an ace, or a service error is when the ball does something that it's not supposed to. So it hits the net, goes out of bounds, anything like that. And with serves, you may hear people talk about top serves versus float serves. And this is the type of spin that it has on the ball. So a top spin ball is going to spin forward, and that's kind of getting the ball down, versus a float serve kind of wiggles back and forth. So they're different types of serves that you may hear people say. Similar to other sports, you're gonna hear, especially if you're new to tryouts, you're gonna hear coaches use words like scrimmage. So when you have like a little practice game, you're also going to hear words like conditioning and some of those more fitness related words, but those are the specific volleyball terminology that you need to know. If there's any terms I mentioned that I didn't go into huge detail on, definitely let me know in the comments down below. I can give you a detailed definition. And if you're looking for any term that you hear on a volleyball court that I didn't mention, definitely let me know that as well. I'd be happy to give you its definition. And I will have more videos with more terminology for a bunch of different sports if you're interested in checking those out. But I hope you guys enjoyed watching, and I will see you guys next Wednesday.